Good guest of this program. He's got a book out, The Cure, A Blueprint for Solving America's Healthcare Crisis. And he is Seth Denson, who is the co-founder and chief strategist for GDP Advisors, which is an employee benefit and risk management company. And he's standing by to talk with us right now. Seth, how are you on this glorious Saturday?
Ken, outside of being in steaming hot Texas today, I am doing quite well, my friend, and always great to be with you.
You ever try to fry an egg on a street?
I haven't actually tried to do it, but I think today you might be able to get it done,
Well, let's talk about Obamacare, because the Republicans have had this in their crosshairs ever since it was made law in the latter part of the 2000s, and it seems to me that this would be a really strong argument for the Republicans if they had something to replace it with. But they don't, do they?
They don't, and I actually penned an article, probably about 2 months ago, Ken, where I said the same thing, that the Republicans, and specifically Donald Trump, is in a really precarious position here in their attack against the Affordable Care Act. And mind you, I've been no fan of the law myself. As an industry insider, I certainly didn't think that it would do anything to curb the cost of health care. That said, it's now a decade old, and many Americans have gotten used to it. And for lack of a better way to put it, the devil you know beats the devil you don't. And what the Trump administration is in jeopardy of doing is losing either way. And what I mean by that is, let's say that the Supreme Court upholds the Affordable Care Act, which I think that they ultimately will, then the president looks like he's lost yet again. And if they indeed overturn the Affordable Care Act, the Democrats are going to have a field day because he hasn't put anything out there on what he would replace it with. And amid a global pandemic, optics are reality, especially in an election year. And Democrats did really well in 2018, running on the idea that the Trump administration was not doing anything on health care, and it may very well turn out to bite the administration if they don't put out a plan now.
Yeah, well, the Supreme Court is not, they're not going to rule in the Republicans' favor. Roberts in 2012 was the deciding vote, which was kind of a preview of what maybe some of his votes were going to be over the course of the next 8 years. But he was the deciding vote, and he said that this is a legislative problem. It's not a problem for the Supreme Court. So why would he vote unless there's something compelling that's transpired? Why would he vote with the four other conservative justices on this particular issue? He wouldn't, would he?
I don't think he would, and certainly the Republican argument here is that it has now been solved legislatively in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, where the Republicans eliminated the individual mandate. And in their haste to pass the Affordable Care Act back in the wee hours of 2009, the Democrats left out a certain clause of the bill called severability. Severability effectively means if one part of the law goes away, it all has to go away, unless that clause is in there that you can sever parts of the law. And they didn't put that in there. And so the argument that Republicans are making here is that, hey, legislatively we eliminated the individual mandate, and therefore constitutionally the law has to go away because it didn't have severability. Now, here's the reality of it, though. They didn't eliminate the individual mandate. They just changed the tax to $0. Now, and I know that can sound like it's semantics, but the reality is it was a budgetary bill that they passed, and in the budget they reduced the tax to $0. And so under the Commerce Clause, Americans are still very much constitutionally able to either buy insurance or pay a tax, which is what Roberts upheld the first time. It's just that the tax happens to be $0.
$0, which means that if indeed in 2020, if the Democrats keep the House and regain the Senate, that $0 goes back to whatever it is, and all of a sudden now you're back to Obamacare straight up, right?
That's exactly right. It's just another budgetary bill that puts the individual mandate right back into play.
So there's not going to be, I mean, the Republicans can outline whatever they want for health care. They can come up with a plan, and I guess they're going to try and do something here with the next stimulus package or whatever, to use that to try and do a do-over for what they've been unable to do for the last 10 years. But my point is, you've got a lot of people that have lost their jobs in this pandemic, and a lot of them have lost their health coverage. I don't sense that the Democrats in the House, and they control the House, have much of an appetite to rewrite anything that would get to the Senate before November. So all you're going to have, I think, is political posturing on this until after the election, and then let's see who's got control of what. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think the likelihood of the Democrats getting on board with anything that would be beneficial to the administration between now and election season is about as the odds of a snowball having a chance in Texas today. And the reality of it is, but here's my point on this, and this is what I wrote in the article, Ken. Mm-hmm. Republicans don't necessarily have to get a bill passed. They just have to produce one, or they have to actually put out a plan. The American people, sadly today, make decisions based on 30-second sound bites. And the Democrats are having a field day, and they certainly will as we get closer to November, saying Trump's trying to take away health care. You don't have your job. You have health care because of Obamacare, and Trump's trying to take it away. The Republicans, and specifically Trump, need to roll out a plan to say if the law goes away, here's what we're going to do to replace it, knowing very well it will never pass, and it doesn't have to. Yeah. Politically, they still have to release something. And I don't want to discount the fact that the Trump administration has actually done some really solid things on driving down the cost of health care, transparency, foreign drugs, things like that. They can build on that. They could implement the things I write about in The Cure, and there's your plan, and it would work. But even if it didn't pass, it would still be politically favorable going into the election season.
Yeah, I think it would be, too. I don't think that the average American, though, pays attention to stuff like that. I think what they pay attention to is, what do I got? And then, okay, that might be better, but I know what I got right now. And what they got isn't all that great, but it's something besides some promise or some piece of paper that says, hey, we're going to do that, because I think the last person you want to trust in this world is a politician. So I'm not sure that just having that is going to make that much of a difference, because I don't think people are paying attention to much, Seth, right now, besides when am I going to get a vaccine so I don't get COVID-19, and when is all of this social unrest going to end? I think those are the two things that are right front and center, and promises of things that might happen down the road, I kind of think that gets pushed aside.
Well, it certainly could be appearing that way, but I still think that the Trump administration needs to say that we have a plan for this. And they need to not just say it, but they need to produce it. And that'll certainly give them the leverage when we all know the attacks that are coming. You can put a blinker on this.
Sure.
The Democrats are going to run commercial after commercial about Trump going after Obamacare in the Supreme Court. And at least the Trump administration could say, yes, we are going after it, but we've got something to replace it with. Here it is, America. Here's what we're going to do. You will not go without health care. You will not lose your health care. We will protect pre-existing conditions. We're just going to actually do all the things that the Affordable Care Act didn't do, and give us 4 more years to give that a shot.
But and look, I think anything that does something to improve the state of health care in this country, I'm for 100%. But I think the Democrats have what they need to really win that battle. They've got John McCain walking into a Senate vote with thumbs down. I'd run that damn thing from now until the end of the election. Here is maybe, at that time at least, the most sage politician that the Republicans can offer, and he's going thumbs down on Obamacare. I mean, that's a tough optic to fight, is it not?
It certainly is. And you know, I would actually thank John McCain for that vote. Skinny repeal would have done nothing, and it would have been a waste, and the Republicans would be living with that now, that they would have to be owning up to. So I think that there are certainly some things here that, from an optics perspective, the Democrats will have in their arsenal regardless. But let's start putting some things in the arsenal for the Republicans here, and that's what I'm referring to. And something is certainly better than nothing. And so the Republicans have to produce something to at least try to compete.
Yeah, Seth Denson, our guest, he is the author of a book that really outlines the problems with health care and how it can be fixed. It's called The Cure, a blueprint for solving America's health care crisis. Seth, I think I ask you this question every time I have you on. I'm going to ask it again. Not that you don't give a great answer, but how far, in your opinion, if we do the right things, we being the American public, electing the right people and empowering them to do what we want, which is get us the kind of health care we need, affordable and effective, how far away are we from that, knowing how things work in Washington?
Yeah, that's a great question, and certainly this is a crawl, walk, run, and we have to recognize that the enemy of good is perfection. And what I mean by that is we've got to start taking steps, and those steps are actually already outlined and are bipartisan. We just need to take them to the next level. So I think that if we had the right, if we could put politics aside, which I know that's a pipe dream, but if we could, you could actually start to see our healthcare system look vastly different, beneficial to all. Within 4 to 5 years. And it only would take a couple of key things, and one of which the Trump administration is already trying to do, and that is require full, complete transparency. But you don't have to just do that. I would tell you that right now, if we would eliminate insurance networks, just do away with them. No more insurance networks. The price is the price, and now hospitals and doctors can compete, and your insurance, whether it's Blue Cross or United or Cigna or Aetna, will cover what it covers. Now all of a sudden the veil will be lifted, because insurance networks are the way that this entire system works in ambiguity. And if you would just eliminate it and have health insurance work just the way that auto insurance does or any other type of insurance, you have a claim, it's covered at this level, then that would put the American consumer back in the driver's seat, and it is the American consumer and only the American consumer that can ultimately fix health care in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. You call a hospital, you call your insurance company right now and say, I've got to get it. I got to get my knee replaced. How much is it going to cost? They can't give you an answer. They can't give you a straight answer, because the hospital's playing games with the way it bills. The doctor's playing games with the way he bills. And so when you call your insurance provider, whoever it may be, they don't know, because they don't know how much they're going to get gamed. Everybody's gaming everybody else, and until and if we get to the root of that, as you point out in your book, we got problems. We got problems.
That's right.
All right, Seth, it's always great to have you on. You stay cool, okay?
Enjoy your Saturday, my friend. See you soon.
All right. Seth Denson, GDP Advisors. Guy knows healthcare inside out. Again, his book, and it's a good book. I've written it. I've given it to people. It's called The Cure, a Blueprint for Solving America's Healthcare Crisis.